to visit them up in New Hampshire today.
Nice.
Okay, so we should be live just about now. Say good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Is Linda Fermi watching?
Hold on just a minute. Good morning, people on Facebook. We're just gathering everyone together now. And there are some people waiting to get in Zoom. Oh, Nancy Manning will be joining us, and Ryan and Ed Gates.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
The key thing is they have to follow it. Wear their mask.
Can you do me a favor and
First person. Oh, when you get to
people are just joining us on live stream and on the Zoom meeting. We're just waiting to get things started here. Okay. Okay. So we're good to go whenever you guys are.
Okay, well, someone has a joke, right?
Hold on. Eloise said that she registered, but nothing happened.
She should have, I didn't actually approve everyone till like 9 o'clock this morning, so she should have gotten an email after 9. If she wants to check her email. I was kind of late on that. I'm going to.
Human contact. Well, I did have a quarantine joke, but I can't tell it because since quarantine, all my jokes are inside jokes.
Oh.
Get it? Inside.
I get it. So,
I guess, yeah, go ahead.
okay, so this morning I thought we'd start off by just describing for you what's going to happen this weekend. So we're all excited. We've been working very diligently this week to get everything ready, the churches and ourselves. So first of all, just to let you know that we're eager to see you, but remember your first commandment, okay, which is please do not come if you have any concerns at all about your health, the health of others. So I have spoken to a number of our very devout parishioners who say they're not ready. And I said, that's fine. So number one, remember, there's still not a Sunday Mass obligation. You should really only come if you feel totally safe, and we'll describe for you what we're going to do to make our environment as safe as possible. And number three, we will continue to provide this live stream Mass. So tomorrow, the 10 o'clock Mass will be live streamed from here at St. John's. And just to say something about that, as you all know, our church has been undergoing a renovation, and we're close to completion of the sanctuary part. Enough so that we can have mass there. We're going to use the temporary altar, the one that you've seen on daily mass, because we can set that up in front of what will be the new altar. The new altar is rising up slowly, but you'll have a chance to see what the sanctuary looks like. The paintings, the murals have been restored, and we have new lighting on them. So I think it'll be nice for people to see some things that are happening there. So all of you who want to join us tomorrow at 10 o'clock, and please feel completely comfortable doing that. If you want to come, I just want you to know what to expect. So the first thing, obviously, is when you park your car, to move slowly over to the church. But we're going to have markings on the sidewalks indicating that as you approach the church, you need to keep that 6 feet from the person ahead of you. So we're going to have to resist that temptation that when we see our friends, we're going to want to go over and shake their hands and give them a hug. We won't be able to do that. We need to continue the safe distancing. We've heard about that from day one, from the governor, from the cardinal, from everybody who knows that we just cannot do that. We have to keep that separation from the beginning. So as you approach the church, okay, either St. John's or St. Thomas, only one door will be open. So don't try to come in the side doors. You have to come in the front door. All the other doors will be locked, and there'll be a sign on them with a big stop sign saying, don't enter here. So you need to come into the front door because we need to help you as you enter and lead you through the process of finding a place in the church. So follow the little dots, stay behind each other. When you arrive at the front door of the church, you'll meet one of our safety guides. And this person's job is the greeter. Hello, welcome. And he or she will have the list of names. So if you want to come, but you haven't signed up yet, when we're finished, go on our website or on the Facebook page. You'll see the sign up. You just click it on. When you go on there, you need to click what mass you want to come to. Remember, there are 4 masses in English. The 4 o'clock mass today at St. Thomas, the 8 o'clock mass tomorrow morning at St. John's, and then 2 10 o'clock masses, one at each church, St. John's, St. Thomas. So you check that off. Then down below, it's going to say submit, because then it's going to ask your name and your email address so we know who you are. It also will ask how many people are coming. We have family groups, we have just individuals, and it also even has a little block for a sort of comment. So if you'd like to say, it's going to be our family, or it's just me, or just happy to that, that's a little thing that you can click on. So remember to let us know, because somebody will be there at the door to say, okay, I just need to know who you are. We need to keep track of the number of people because we can only accommodate so many people safely. Now, we feel we're pretty clearly in the range because the numbers are not huge, but we do need to know that you're coming. When you enter the foyer of either of our churches, you'll meet the second safety guide. And that person will say, okay, if you would like to leave your offering, because there's no offertory procession. If you want to leave your offertory envelopes, first and second collection, there'll be a box for St. John's or a box for St. Thomas. There'll also be a box with hymnals in it. Now, we're putting the hymnals there for you to take and keep, because in the church, there can be no papers, no pamphlets, no books, no hymnals. Nothing that you can touch, put down, and somebody else can touch. So remember, what the rule is here is don't touch something, that somebody else has already used. So you can take a hymnal, you'll keep the hymnal, you can use it for the readings. We won't be singing. You remember the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not sing, because doing that might cause that infection for somebody else. That's why we're wearing masks. So, but you can keep the hymnal. You can follow the readings. I know many people like to do that. And then you'll take it home with you. All right. Then the second safety guide will say, now please go into the church and follow the directions of the next safety guide. So somebody is going to lead you to your place. Now, I know everybody has their favorite place in church, right? you've been going there for years and years and years. Well, we can't have you go anywhere. We need to seat you in a place where you are safe and where we do the safe distancing. So just consider this person like an usher, you know, in a theater who's going to take you to your place and make sure that you're there, that you're comfortable. So it really is important. In fact, when you meet the second safety guide, she is going to give you a sheet like this telling you you're welcome. And then 3 most important rules: follow the safety guide, wear your mask, and stay 6 feet behind you. Now remember, you have to have a mask on. So when you come, remember to bring your mask with you. You have to wear that for all the time you're in the church. So you're seated in the church. Holly will be playing. So we'll have some lovely background music. When the mass begins, it's going to be a very, very brief procession. So there's no procession into the church. There's no procession with the gifts. There's no long procession at the end of Mass. Why? Just because processions mean we all are like in a parade, we're close to each other. We can't do that. So we're just going to come out from the side very briefly, and Holly or the cantor will sing an introit. Now here's something interesting. We've been talking about this back a few years ago. Some of you may remember we used to do the introit, which is the scripture verse that the church chooses for each liturgy. So you know at Mass today, okay, when Father Kevin began, he read that verse. Okay, that's the introit. It's short, it's very beautiful. So we're going to have you listen to that. It's not a hymn, so you're not singing, but it's the church's way of helping us to enter into the liturgy. So the priest will begin the Mass. During the Mass, we'll pause a few times to give you some instructions, tell you what you need to know. The Mass will follow along pretty much as it normally does. We'll have the lector, we'll have the readings, we'll have the gospel and the homily, we'll have the prayers of the faithful. Now, the people who are in the sanctuary throughout the Mass are ourselves. So you've come to know our seminarians, our deacons. They will be assisting us. That gives us the freedom to move around and to be close to each other as we are, because we are like family. Here we are at home. So, pardon?
Like?
We are a family. Okay. So just so you know that during the Mass, while we're in the sanctuary, we won't be wearing a mask. The only other person who comes in will be the lector from the side. He or she will just remove the mask before they come up. They'll do the reading, and then they'll go back to their place, okay? So at the time of the offertory, remember, no offertory collection. If you forgot to leave your envelope or your offering, there'll be an opportunity at the end of Mass. So the offertory will move pretty quickly. We'll give you a few more instructions. Now, when you come into the church, you're going to notice that every other pew is taped off. That's to prevent you from going in there, so you can keep that safe distance. So during the offering, the safety guys are going to come through the church and just remove that temporarily. Okay, during the whole Mass, we cannot sing. So I know this is hard for you, it's hard for us. So the Holy, Holy, the acclamation of faith, the great Amen, the Lamb of God, all of those parts of the Mass, the Gloria, we will recite, okay? So it's going to be a little quieter. You know, it's kind of be like the old, you know, low Mass we used to call it when I was growing up. You ever hear that term? Very simple, very fast. And, you know, because we cannot sing. All right, at the end of the Our Father, and when we come to the communion, we're going to give you one more instruction. This is a little bit, I don't want to say difficult, but it's not what you're used to doing. So you remember the commandment, you know, thou shalt receive in your hand. This is very important. We are going to come out to you. So opening up those pews enables us to come to you. That makes it much easier for you not to worry about walking up, bumping into somebody else, making a scene in front of the whole community. We will bring the Eucharist to you. We talked about this, and I had a funeral yesterday. It went very smoothly. When we come to you, I'm going to be wearing, or will be wearing, a mask. You will be wearing your mask, remember, at all times. I will ask you to put, if you're receiving communion, you need to put your hand out like that. Now, when we teach the children how to make their first Holy Communion, if they're going to receive in the hand, think of your hand as an altar. Okay, Jesus is going to come upon the altar. It needs to be out there in front of you, really flat. Okay, once in a while we have the snatchers. Those are the people like, they want to grab the host from us. Okay, your hand out really flat. When I say the body of Christ, you say amen, and we will very carefully place the host on your palm of your hand without touching, okay? If for some reason we make contact, there's a seminarian following us who's going to be carrying the hand sanitizer. So we're going to be that careful to make sure that, we're not passing on anything to you. So I'll be sanitizing my hands at the altar, and we'll be doing it if we need to do throughout the time of communion. Now, you have the body of Christ in your hand. I'm going to move on. What you're going to do is take your face mask off. Sometimes just drop one ear so it's still there. Take the host and consume it. Then put your mask back on. Now, it may seem a little, difficult. It's not something we're used to doing, but it happens very, very smoothly. We will go through the church. If you're not receiving communion, you can be seated, or you can simply put your hands in front of you, as we do when people come up, like our children, and we ask a little prayer for them. So if you're not comfortable receiving communion, we understand that. So it's perfectly okay to just simply take your seat and wait out the communion. We'll go through the entire church to do that. It'll actually move pretty quickly. There'll be some nice music in the background. So we want this to be a beautiful contemplative time. We know that this has been months since you've received the body of Christ. So just think of how beautiful it will be just to kind of spend that time. So if it may be a little bit longer than usual, think of it as a moment of thanksgiving that we try to provide at Mass anyways, but your time to just give thanks to God and to pray for the people that you want to remember at Mass. At the end of communion, okay, we will go back to the altar. We will clear the vessels. We'll prepare for the final blessing. Again, some instructions just about how to leave church, because again, this is what's going to be different, okay? And by the way, we're going to tell you during Mass repeatedly, do not leave the church. If you have to use the restroom, the safety guide can assist you, but you have to stay in your church, in your pew, until the final blessing, because we're going to dismiss you row by row. The reason for that, the safety guides will be there, one person or one family at a time. Remember the safe distance rule. So, and we'll have 4 guides, one in each corner. So it'll kind of move along. You'll go to the exit that's nearest to you. When you go by the exit, you'll see the stand with the bulletins. Take a bulletin home. Remember, whatever you touch, just try to take what you need. Don't touch other things. Leave those for other people. Take your bulletin. If you need to leave your offering, you forgot to do that coming in, okay, you can leave that there. And then you go out the exits and back to your car. Now, once you get outside the church, we know we can't control you, but you need to go home. You need to go to your car. You need to start walking home. Remember the rule. We can't socialize. We can't gather and get close together, not at this time. So everything here has been thought through very, very carefully. When you leave, we have a group of people called the cleaners. When the church is empty, they have sprayers with the disinfectant. We're going to disinfect every single place in the church that was used. So that means the people coming in will be safe. So if you've touched the front of your pew or whatever it is, we will disinfect the church completely. And we do that after every ceremony. We have baptism this afternoon. We'll be disinfecting the church. So again, I think if you're hearing what we're saying, you realize it's an important thing to be safe. If you don't feel safe yet, stay at home. If you come, you need to do what we ask you to do so that you are safe and everyone else is safe. So first of all, I'll give a chance to these guys if there's anything that I left out or that you want to make a comment.
He didn't leave it out. He didn't know. So So similar to how for mass you're only allowed to enter through the main doors of the church and then you exit off to the side doors. For those of you who will be availing yourself to the sacrament of reconciliation this afternoon, that will be here at St. John's in the upper church. So from 2:30 until 3:15, the upper church confessional at St. John's will be available for confession. The front doors of the church will be propped open. That is the only entrance into the church. And when you leave the confessional, we're asking that you turn to the left, turn to the left, turn to the left, and go out that side door, which is near the hospitality desk at St. John's. So that you're not exiting the church through the same door you came in, similar to Mass.
Now, the reason for that, thank you, Father Kevin, for reconciliation being here is St. John's has a bigger confessional. We measured it. There's a 6-foot distance. Again, remember to wear your mask. We will be wearing masks. There's also the screen that we have so that we really are not offering the face-to-face option because we need the space. And it's also just another way to keep you safe and keep us safe when you enter into the confessional. We're also doing it here so that we can finish confessions because we're going over to St. Thomas. So remember our schedule, January, February, March, the 4 o'clock Mass is at St. John's. Now, April, May, June, it will be at St. Thomas. That little kind of difference, you have confessions in the church where you have the 4 o'clock Mass, but we need to use the confessional at St. John's. Again, when you come to church, like Father Kevin said, you'll see enter only, the front door, and the other doors from the outside will say no entry. So you have to come in the front door and you have to go out the other. The idea is to avoid making contact. The doors will be opened. That's another way in which you don't have to touch a doorknob. When the cleaners come through, besides disinfecting all of the benches and the pews, they are going to look at every doorknob. They'll be looking at the restrooms downstairs. Any surface that people would be touching will be disinfected. So we're being very, very careful to make sure that the entire environment is as safe as it can be. Any other comments or things that maybe we need to remind people of? Or how about some questions if you have some, if you're thinking about this and there's something that you think you would like to ask us? Or
Sorry, Nancy Manning said that she is available tomorrow at the 10 o'clock Mass at St. John's if you need any assistance with anything.
Great, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Nancy. We've had a number of volunteers. So this afternoon, last Wednesday, we did a training, and today we're doing training. So our safety guides are trained, and we have some cleaners. But thank you, because we are going to want to keep track of the people who are, when you're coming. And if I know, for instance, Nancy, that you're coming next week and we need someone, we'll give you a little heads up. But that's great. And the people who are your guides and cleaners are your so hopefully you'll know them, they'll recognize you, and they've been very good to give us some time to do this.
Joe's mom, Linda, is watching, and to ease her concern, she's asking, where is her son?
Joseph begins finals on Monday, so he is diligently studying up in his room. And that's why I asked if she was watching at the beginning, because I needed to make that announcement.
He's okay.
Okay. A question regarding people with disabilities. How will they be able to get in and out of the church?
Right. Okay. Good question. So at St. Thomas, if you're coming this afternoon, there's a ramp. That's the only side door that will be open, and it's only open for handicapped people. So those of you who use that ramp, on the other side, there are a few people who have disabilities who can use stairs. We'll have a person there to let you in. At St. John's, the elevator lobby, which is right next to the main staircase, will be open. So anyone who has a disability will come. Again, one person at a time. That door will be open. You can enter into the elevator. When you come in upstairs, the guide will be there to give you everything you need. So the good thing about our elevator at St. John's is that it's right there in front of the church. It's right at the front doors. So there'll be people to help you to enter and likewise to leave. At the end of Mass, our announcement will be, if you have a disability, please stay in your place. We want everyone else to leave, and then we will assist you. So if you need to go back to the elevator, okay, now there's no one coming in, there's no one else around, you'll be able to exit the elevator or use the ramp.
Like an airplane.
Right.
Mr. Gates, go ahead, you have a question.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ed. How are you?
My question regarding disability, generally, good, thank you, Father, and you all look well. So, I generally come in, I park in the handicap spot in the back. For clarification purposes, do I still go in the front door, or do I use that side door like I normally would? And is that front row for the handicap going to be available, or is it going to be the other row?
So we thought of that, Ed. Thank you for asking that question. So that door will be open. What you're going to see is it says stop, do not enter, except handicap. So for people like yourself, you know, for whom it's easier actually to climb those few steps than to go all the way around. That door will be open for you. Okay.
What about the front? Yes, about the front row. Usually 6 people.
Oh, and then in terms of seating, Ed, that's the other thing. So with the handicap seating will still be in the front and the rear of the church to make it easy for people. Again, the convenience for everyone is that we will be bringing communion to you. So wherever you are seated in the church, you know, it will be much easier. You won't have to get up and move about.
Someone asked about the time to arrive for the 4 o'clock Mass.
Good question. Thank you for asking that question. We would like you to come on the early side, you know, 15, 20 minutes before. Just that gives us more time to seat people. So we're getting the word out. Sign up and come early. So if you want to come earlier than that, we'll be on hand. Our guides are going to be told to be there, you know, at least a half hour ahead of time. So that gives us all more time to get into church and get settled. But thank you for asking the question. And please, I mean, we're used to, you know, in the old way of things, we could arrive just before Mass and just scoot in. It's very easy. Now we are going to have, it's going to take some time. So come early, and that way it will be easier for us and easier for you to find your place.
Someone asked when the thrift shop would be open at St. Thomas.
Oh, very good. Yeah, I was talking with Wayne yesterday. At St. Thomas. That question, I don't know. I know I was here at St. John's. We went through that because we need to follow. I will find out from people at the thrift store at St. Thomas when they'll be ready. What it comes down to is only allowing so many people. What we're doing is we're following the governor's requirements for retail stores. And so if you notice that some things are opening, but you can only allow so many people at a time. We have to practice the distancing, so the social distancing. So when those things are ready, we'll make an announcement in both cases for St. John's and St. Thomas.
Someone asked if they have to register to confess.
No, you do not have to register to confess. Just come right up the stairs. If the door to the confessional is open, just come on in, close the door. If the door is closed, that means somebody's in there. And then what we're asking is that you wait in the last pew of the church, keeping 6 feet apart from any other penitents that might be in the church waiting to confess, and just come to confess in the order which you arrived.
Don't see any more questions. People joining us from Twin Falls, Idaho.
Wow.
Hello, Idaho.
Hello.
Good morning from New York.
Wow.
And also, I saw one other place. Oh, Archdale, North Carolina. Mr. Armstrong.
Excellent. Great to be with you guys. I hope your weather is nice there as it is here. It's a beautiful spring day, getting on the warm side. Father Kevin gives me this look because like anything over 60 degrees is.
No, anything over 70, I sweat. I'm sure you saw me sweating at Mass.
But it's very comfortable here. So we also know, I mean, you're probably noticing this, that opening churches is happening in different places, in different ways. So in the Archdiocese of Boston last Sunday, some parishes asked permission and they were able to begin. Other churches will be delaying their opening. So the other thing to be aware of is that not all churches are open today. Not all churches are following their usual Mass schedule. Some are having outdoor Masses. Some are having only one Mass or two Masses. Our Mass schedule, I mentioned the English Mass schedule, but for the Hispanic community, Father Paul wants to do a few Masses in order to lessen the number of people, because we simply couldn't accommodate all of the people who come to the 11:30. So he's having a vigil Mass tonight, 7. He'll have the usual Mass time tomorrow, 11:30, and then 7 o'clock tomorrow evening for another Mass. And then, Father Kevin, do you want to talk about the Brazilian Mass?
In English or Portuguese?
Either.
So, para a nossa comunidade portuguesa brasileira, do Sofante, vamos ter a nossa missa ao meio-dia. Eu estou muito infeliz de dizer meio-dia, porque por 2 anos eu falei 11h30, 11h30, 11h30. E finalmente, quando as pessoas estão chegando para as 11h30, eu estou dizendo meio-dia. Então, a meio-dia vamos celebrar. Isso é para dar tempo às que vão limpar, para limpar a nossa igreja após a missa às 10. E então, se a gente pode chegar às 11h30 para verificar com os security guides, os acolhidos, que vocês estão na lista, e após de ter a capacidade de 100 pessoas na igreja, St. Thomas, vamos colocar os outros na quadra. Vamos fazer o live stream de lá. Quando chega a hora de comunhão, o diácono Dan ou Dennis, quando quiser, quem quiser, vão para a quadra para distribuir a comunhão. So for those of you just wondering what I was just saying, the 11:30 Mass is going to be pushed to noontime to give the cleaners a little bit of time to clean. For right now, we're only offering one Brazilian Mass at noontime. And once St. Thomas capacity has been reached, we'll send all of the other people to the gym at St. Thomas to do live stream. And one of our deacons will go to them at communion time in order for them to receive.
A question regarding offertory. Shall I mail my offertory if I'm not attending Mass?
Yes, and thank you to all of you who have been doing that. We have been really surprised and amazed at how many people throughout this period have not forgotten us. So they have been sending in their envelopes. More people today are using online giving, and we can't emphasize enough how that is really the best way for you and for us. For you, because you sit down and you think, okay, we have different collections. Maybe there are certain collections that are very meaningful to you. You may want to give something more. It's easy for us, enables us to plan on the income because there's that steady stream. So send in the envelopes. The only thing, of course, is not to send cash. So if you have cash, you can, at both of our parishes, where the parish offices are, there's a mailbox, and you can just drop it in there and it will be safe.
It's a secure box. It has a lock on it. So.
Right, it does. So once it's in there, we're the only people that can access it. So please continue to do that. When you come to Mass, if you come to Mass here, when you see the boxes, because it's going to be easy now for us to make that separation. Remember, we always used to just combine them and then we would separate them. This is much easier for the counters. What's going to happen is the money from each parish will be in a sealed bag. We'll wait 3 days before the counters come. Why 3 days? Because that's considered maximum time to be sure that if there's anything, somebody has an infection and they have put their envelope in, whatever that is, it cannot survive. So the good thing about this virus, if there's something good about it, is that it cannot live for very long outside of a host like us. But if it's on a surface, it's a hard surface, it will die more quickly. Softer surface, it takes a little bit longer. But for the safety of our counters, we want to make sure that when they open the bag, there's no danger of infection. So you can bring it with you. If there's a second collection, put both envelopes in there and we'll take care of the counting. But please do consider supporting the parish just by mailing your offering, dropping it off, and especially the online giving. That's really a really good way for us to be able to plan and for you to take the time to think about, how you want to give. The other thing that continues is our capital campaign. I mentioned the work in the upper church. Our capital campaign it just went over the $600,000 mark. Now, a lot of that still is in pledges. So we need that income, plus we still need more to reach our goal. So those of you who are giving to the campaign, thank you. Every day we get the payments of your pledges. But if you haven't, really, this would be a great time to sit down and think, okay, can I make a pledge? Because we need that in order to be able to complete the work in the church. What you'll see tomorrow is the sanctuary, which looks beautiful. But the rest of the church also needs paint and needs some other repairs. So if you're thinking about it, this would be a great time to sit down and say, okay, I'd like to make a pledge, $1,000, $2,000 more. You can do it over time. That will help us to reach our goal. So thank you for being generous. It's been wonderful. Some of you, we've received special gifts of large amounts of people who just knew that this was a difficult time and they wanted to be sure that they were supporting the parish. So people have been very good. We're reviewing the finances. That might be another question people have. Our parish finance council at St. John's met by Zoom this week, and then the finance council at St. Thomas will be meeting soon. We're just looking at the numbers, the income, the expenses. So we'll fill you in on those, but we definitely need your help and your support because naturally, without people coming, people who only give when they come, the offertory is lower than usual. So we do need to ask people to be generous, and we'll try to give you a little update on what the financial situation looks like.
I just added the link for the online giving in the comments on Facebook.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Laurie.
So another question is there going to be adoration?
Yes, there's continuing to do the adoration at St. Thomas in the chapel. All right, so remember the chapel will be open, but that will, you can only go into the chapel. So again, if you're thinking of, adoration, you can be in adoration, but if you want to go to Mass, you need to come through the front door to attend Mass there. But at St. Thomas, there will be adoration in the morning in the side chapel.
Next question is, how do you go about donating to give the bread, wine, and candles at Mass?
Okay, you want to continue to do what we have done, which is to call either parish, St. John's or St. Thomas. Our secretaries are coming in certain hours of the week. They're not there all the time, but we check our phones and let them know the date and the time in the Mass. So let's say next Sunday, you would like to donate the bread and wine for the 10 o'clock Mass at St. Thomas. Okay, you may give us the name of the person that you want remembered, and those will be in the bulletin as they usually are. The only thing to keep in mind about the gifts is that there's no procession. So the gifts are given in memory of someone, but there's no bringing the gifts to the altar. Likewise, the candles, if you want to do that as a memorial, because we still need the bread and wine, we still need the candles. So the idea of those special gifts in remembrance of a loved one, is to have a particular remembrance at Mass. So for the Mass times that we offer, and again, the 4 o'clock on Saturday, the 8 on Sunday morning, the 2 10 o'clock Masses, if you want to do that, you need to contact the secretary, parish secretary, and they will take the name and information, and we'll put that as we do in the bulletin, saying that the gifts of bread and wine next Sunday or this Sunday are given in memory of someone. The other thing to keep in mind about that, because I know people like, putting it in the bulletin makes others aware of it. Everything we need to know to go into the bulletin needs to be in, well, by Monday morning at the latest. We asked actually like last Friday, but if you were thinking of next week, you need to call because we need to get that information to Denise Mendonça, who edits the parish bulletin, and we'll have to put it in there. We'll also be looking at those pages because some of those pages will need to update, I think. But that's a good question. Any other questions or comments? How are you all doing out there? Everybody well?
Sorry, I'm gonna mute myself. So another question was, I don't know if you answered this already. Do you know of any memorial intentions for the Masses this weekend?
This weekend, yes, I know that we have one for the Garuti family at 10 a.m. at St. John's. We have that information. I don't know if there's any others over at St. Thomas. Dawn Alves would have that information.
Right. So you take those special intentions. The other thing that we do is also remember those who have been buried. We had our first funeral mass. I had my first funeral mass yesterday for Jim Snow, whom the people at St. John's may know. He was in our choir. In fact, he sang in the choir at both places. Jim was a very faithful parishioner and was buried yesterday. So as we always did, whenever there's a funeral, either that has taken place or a funeral that's coming, we will say, and we remember also so-and-so whose funeral was celebrated. So, in the prayers of the faithful, we'll keep those, but special memorials as well. So let us know if there's a particular intention that you would like us to remember. Another thought I had is, because Father Kevin and I have been talking about daily masses. Some of you have been asked, will we resume daily masses? We will in time, but we have to look at that very carefully. And in fact, to give you a little heads up, what we want to do is hear from people like yourselves about Mass times. We have been very impressed that some people like yourselves are tuning in and attending Mass via live stream on weekdays, and 9:30 has been a good time. So we're going to devise a little questionnaire that we can send out to you, asking you, if you would like to come to Mass, what Mass time would work. We have early Masses that originally were intended for working people and still are for some people the only time they can come. But we're thinking there may be people at home, like yourselves, who would like to either come to Mass if it was at a time that was convenient, or maybe also can't come to Mass but would want to watch it live stream. So we're considering, we could move the 9:30 to like 9 o'clock, looking at the other Mass times. So we will be devising a questionnaire so that we can find out from all the people. We'll ask our 645ers, the 8:30 folks, you people as well, what we might do to offer Mass at a different time. So that's something it will take some planning. We don't want to make any changes. And if we do a daily Mass, remember, we have to go through the same procedures. I don't know as far as welcoming people, having them in place, disinfecting the church. So right now, we're just making sure that on weekends, we do all the things that we need to do. If we do daily masses, we're gonna have to do the same thing.
Nancy, did you have a question?
I did. So for years and years, I've always wondered about two things. During Mass, there are two times where Father Kevin or Father John, you bless. It seems like you're blessing and like whispering a prayer. So I'm curious what you're saying. And one is when you get ready. When you get ready for the gospel reading, you say Deacon Dan will say the gospel reading. You pray over them. And then the second one is right before you're about to bless the host, before communion, you say something then too, you like whisper something. So I'm always curious what you're saying.
Sure. So some of those are called the secret prayers. So a deacon needs the blessing of a priest before proclaiming the gospel. So the deacon will bow in front of the priest and say either Iube Domine Benedicere, your blessing, Father, and the priest will say, may the Lord be on your lips and in your heart, that you may proclaim, that you may worth. I don't know it in English.
Okay, so the words are, may the Lord be in your heart and on your lips.
I usually give it in Latin.
I'm used to asking Father Kevin for his blessing in Latin. But
So that's the first one that you'd see us do quietly, is the blessing over the deacon. After the priest has offered the gifts of bread and wine, if he says that prayer out loud, the people respond, "Blessed be God forever." And then the priest says a prayer that goes back to the book of Daniel in the Old Testament in English. With humble spirit and contrite hearts, may we be accepted by you, O Lord, and may our sacrifice in yours, Lord God. So we ask God on behalf of not just ourselves, but on behalf of the people, that he accept these gifts. And then he turns to the server and says, "Wash away, O Lord, my iniquity, cleanse me of my sins." It's a ritual washing of his hands, just like
Right.
before a meal.
and then kind of like there's a number of prayers that are said quietly. Like for instance, another one is when the chalice is being prepared, after wine is poured in and then a little bit of water is added in, the priest or the deacon who's preparing it says, "By the mystery of this water and wine, may we come to share the divinity of Christ, who humbled himself to share in our humanity." So there's a number of beautiful prayers that are there, but not all of them are said out loud.
Right.
They are sort of personal prayers. Like they were also asking about the prayer that we say just before the Lamb of God. The priest pause. That's his own personal prayer, preparing himself to receive the Eucharist. One of the things that we hope to do in this year of the Eucharist is to teach. We do these teaching masses, and I know when I do those, that's the opportunity. People ask those questions, and we take the time to say, okay, these are, we call them secret prayers because they're not prayers of the community. They're the prayer for the deacon, or they're the prayer for the priest. But we'll hopefully there'll be an opportunity maybe to explain those. But those are some very good questions, because people see, they know something's happening, but we're intentionally saying them quietly because they really are just personal prayers or blessings.
Thank you for the question.
Well, I was wondering if anyone else had that question, because years and years and years, I'm always like, I wonder what they say. But I also want to say thank you very much. I watch every morning at 9:30. I miss being able to administer communion to everybody, and I can't wait to see you all tomorrow.
Hey, look forward to it. Thank you. So I think we're going to wrap it up there. Actually, we're now heading over to the churches to set things up, get them ready. So keep us in your prayers and pray for one another that this weekend, those who come will be safe. Those of you who stay home, that you'll continue to pray with us live stream. This is a great way that we can stay connected. And if you have questions, suggestions, please let us know. This is I only wish that there were more people maybe watching and listening, because we have people always asking questions, and this is such an easy way for us in a good format. So we appreciate your tuning in. If you can do it, go out and enjoy this beautiful day. Take a nice walk.
Put on sunscreen.
Right. So take care, everyone. Have a great weekend, and God bless.
God bless. Bye.